Welcome to the place where the takes are hot and the facts are optional. Where logic takes a back seat and the tangents are unstoppable. It's the show that starts nowhere and still gets everywhere. So buckle up, lean in, don't try to keep control. You're not tuned in for the kings of the rebel roll. You're not tuned in to the kings of the rebel roll. The rebel roll.
All right, it's time for another edition of the Ramble Authority. I'm Jay, he's Alan, the show that starts nowhere and goes everywhere, right here for you every couple of weeks on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find us. Give us a subscribe, give us a like, share the show on your socials. We appreciate it. So, Alan, I'm going to start us off this week with the
All
three
right.
topics. And I want to ask a simple question. Who thought it was a good idea to install roundabouts in the South? We barely understand four-way stop etiquette. Now let's mix in just a continuous yield situation. It happens no matter where I am, whatever state I'm in. I will, when I come to a roundabout, I just fear for my life because I can bet that at least two of the other four people there have no idea how to navigate this thing.
You know, so where I live, we don't have a whole bunch of them, luckily. But I was recently up in your neck of the woods, up in the Winston-Salem area, and
Oh,
they're everywhere. Like there
yeah.
was one road, it was like roundabout after roundabout after roundabout. There were like three roundabouts in a row. And I'm like, what in the world is going on here? My biggest fear, Jay, is look, kids, Big Ben, Parliament.
Yes, the shout out to the the European Vacation. Kind of forgotten one of the four vacation movies, I feel like. But not a bad one to revisit, though. Doesn't hold a candle to the OG or Christmas, in my opinion. Look, I get it. It's supposed to keep traffic flowing a little bit easier than a four-way, but it didn't come with any instructions. And so, and since the children aren't driving anymore, it's up to the other people who didn't get that instruction that are just renewing licenses every year. I'm anti roundabout, and it will be part four of my agenda once elected Supreme Chancellor. So to end
Where
those
do you
things.
stand on diamond interchanges?
Well, ask me next week.
Well, Jay, I'm gonna to go in a different direction. As a kid, I really expected life to be more dangerous than it is. Okay, so as a kid in elementary school and in television commercials and ads and such, I really thought I would be on fire a lot more than I am because stop, drop, and roll was drilled into my head.
Yeah.
I thought I would encounter venomous snakes a lot more than I do. And I thought there was rampant crime and drug use thanks to Scruff McGruff the crime dog and the DARE program. Thank you, Ronald Reagan.
Well, I think the third one was right, based off some of the crime in the cities. The one that I will add in is I thought quicksand was going to be a lot more of a handle.
I
Um,
know, right?
Yeah, but I've never found any quicksand. Now I've seen plenty of poisonous snakes, and I've seen fires, but I've never actually employed stop, drop, and roll. Though I did see a race car driver do it once, and it was just for a small little smoldering piece. But his training came back in. I would also offer up the old wooden desks with the metal seats as protection from nuclear annihilation or the Russians.
Yeah, and I also thought that I would be starting and preventing a lot more forest fires than I've ever had to do in my life, too.
That's before we like outsourced all of the forestry world. So AI is doing that now. That's what I've been told.
Oh.
Yeah. Not bad, not bad. All right. So I got a question for you. What is a professional sports activity? It can be a single piece of activity or the whole thing if you want. Do you think you could actually do as a 40 something year old man? What do you think I could do one of those at some point if given, let's say, a week
Do you have to
try?
be able to do it as good as the professionals?
Oh, no. You just have to be able to complete whatever
Oh,
the activity is once.
well, I could definitely do golf. Um,
Mhm.
That muscle memory is still there. So I can still strike the ball pretty well. My putting is probably atrocious. But if we're talking about regular sports, like I think I could be the water boy.
Okay, fair, fair. I think I could hit a free throw once in a game. I feel like I could do that. I enough training still there, enough muscle memory. Could always go with the granny shot if I had to. But I feel like I could get out there and flop just as good as SGA does, and possibly get to the line enough to get one in. And look, I'm not gonna knock
They
the
tried to
dude. It's
get,
a living, so.
and he's really good too.
He is, yeah, which is wild. I'll tell you the thing I know I could not do. Anything professional football related, I would be injured greatly by those people. And I don't think I could ever get near a baseball or even a softball. Let's be real. I don't think it would be swinging and missing, or I wouldn't even know it was there if it was like Paul Skeens or somebody.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a funny story. Okay. One of my good friends in high school was the star softball pitcher. And I went to a big high school, 6A high school in Alabama, and at the time it was the biggest. And I mean, she was tall. She was pushing 5'10", 5'11". And I was giving her crap one day, just like giving her grief. And she's like, okay. So she took me to the ball field and gave me a bat and put me in the box and said, I'm going to throw some at you. And I mean, this was high school, so she was probably softball pitching 60, 65.
Mhm.
I was terrified. I mean, because she was so close. And
Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah,
mad respect to those baseball players.
and the
Trying to
softball place,
hit a
yeah,
ball that is
yeah.
that fast and that close and that action, almost impossible.
I think it's funny you had a high school friend that Roy Hobbs you. You've seen the beginning of the natural, so you were the whammer in this case. So wow.
Well, Jay, okay, we're gonna dive into the movie world, and this is a really complex topic, okay? So
Mhm.
here is a question for you. I'm going to let you go first, okay?
Okay.
Better movie villain. Not individual character, but who plays the villain better? Christoph Waltz or Javier Bardem?
Those are the only two choices I can make.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of those two, who's the better?
Javier Bardem. Um, Absolutely straight up horror movie character in No Country for Old Men, and then one of the most compelling Bond villains of all time in Skyfall. Just a frightening presence, both of those times, and really anytime he's on screen playing the villain, but those two in particular, you can't watch No Country and not watch him just kind of slink in and out like he's black smoke death in and out of a scene. It's just so scary, man.
So here is my thought, and it's a complex answer, okay? So Javier is the scarier. He is the brute force, the cold psychological killer that is like an unstoppable force. It just seems like
Hmm.
inevitable. And let's be honest, No Country was a fabulous movie. Very well done. I love the style of it. And he was really good as what was it, Raul Silva in Skyfall.
Hmm.
Um, and I did love like the psychological manipulation component with that. Now, Christoph Waltz, on the other hand, had some pretty good villain roles. The one that main comes to mind is Hans Landa in Inglorious Bastards, where he plays the SS officer. And then he also did Blofeld in
Yeah,
Spectre and
not
No Time
good.
to Die. Well,
Yeah.
uh, fair point. So
Give me
here's my
Donald
thought.
Pleasance as Blofeld any day. So,
I think Christoph Waltz, like, he's the villain who's always going to be smarter than you. He's going to outthink you. And Bardin is just a brute force. So I feel like if given the chance, I could maybe get lucky and outsmart Bardin's villains and get away for a time until he found me and then just, cattle thing to the head. But yeah, I'm gonna go Bardin. I love Christoph Waltz as Hans Landa. I think that character has incredible depth and was a great role. But overall, top to bottom, give me Anton Chigurh.
All right, fair, fair. I'm gonna ask you this, and it's staying in the movie area, and there's actually science proof of this or whatever. If you go back the last 15, 20 years, about every year, the biggest movies of the year are running anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes longer. Right now, average of a big blockbuster movie is about 2.5 hours. Why are movies so long these days? Now, I've heard the Matt Damon rant on it is that nobody's paying enough attention anymore because you're all on your phone the whole time or whatever. So they have to constantly repeat stuff to you. So it extends the film out. Part of it is the other part of it is that there's huge budgets in these things. So they feel like they got to cram as much as they can into the thing to get you to come out and watch it or rent it at home or whatever to consume it to make the money back. But I don't know, man. I recently revisited the OG Men in Black from 1997. And if you cut out
Great
the
movie.
opening credits and the end credits, that movie's 82 minutes long and it tells a wild story in that amount of time. Whereas some of these other things are running up to 3 hours. Like that last Avatar movie's 3 hours long, and I could have told you that movie in about 8 minutes. Like, I don't understand why things are getting longer now.
So I do have one thought, okay? I believe that the streaming universe with
Hmm.
their series, okay, have gotten really good at in-depth storytelling. I mean, it's easier to tell a story over 8 1-hour episodes or 10 1-hour episodes.
Mm.
Um, and so I think that the viewer expects maybe a little bit more in-depth, rich storytelling, maybe a little bit more backstory, maybe the
Mhm.
characters' motivations. Uh, and so I think that's why they've gotten a little longer. I felt like they've had to add a little bit more because people expect more. Um, you don't want to leave a movie thinking, well, what was that? Or why? Or, whereas um, 20 years ago, we didn't have any other options. It's like, okay, that was good. Maybe they'll do another one and explain that. Um,
I think
but
you're onto
and
something
I'll
with the rise of prestige TV now and what that has attracted and this the elongated storylines, like you say, and being able to really pack a lot of punch in it. I think you're onto something there that's influencing because now people expect that from your Hollywood blockbuster. So
especially if I'm paying $20 for a movie ticket.
truth, truth. So quite expensive. So to go to the theater these days. So
Well, Jay, I was hoping to do a quick video game review of my initial gameplay of the new James Bond game. But early access does not start till tomorrow because I cannot read a calendar. So I will digress. Well,
as
okay.
of
Actually,
recording.
it's just that I'm old, okay? My whole life, video games have come out on Tuesdays, okay? Tuesday's video game day. Everybody knows that.
It's kind
Well,
of
so
like
they,
media drop day. Music comes out on Tuesdays. So yeah.
well, and so the early access was supposed to be 24 hours early, so I'm thinking it's Monday. No, the game doesn't drop till Wednesday. So, Jay, I believe we have entered in, and I'll keep this PG, to the college football era of mess around and find out. And what I mean by that, college football had the greatest regular season of any sport. Like, eh, throwing the bowl games aside and the various championship crowning formats, the college football season was always intriguing because every week mattered.
Hmm.
For most of our lives, if you lost a game, that was probably it. That was probably your shot at the championship. Maybe with one loss you could get in, but then every week
Maybe.
became must-see TV because you had to keep winning. Well, now
Mhm.
we're at 12 teams and we're allegedly heading toward 24. So a 9-3 Alabama or a 9-3 Notre Dame is always going to be in the playoffs. And so I think this is going to start affecting the university's fundings. I think at some point television are not going to pay these bloated contracts for these conference deals. I think you will see ticket sales, season ticket sales for the universities decline because they're having less and less marquee games as a fact of this. I mean, I'm an Alabama fan, and so at this point in time, you have maybe three of your 7 or 8 home games that are really worth going to, and some of that's dependent on if Auburn's good or not. Um, And so I think you're really going to start seeing a financial crunch. At some point, you're diminishing returns. What do you think?
Well, it all depends on what the future of the top end of college football looks like. There's been rumors for a long time of the top 30, 40 teams breaking away and kind of becoming the mini NFL, and that's a whole other conversation. But I do say this every time I feel like we're crossing the Rubicon with college sports and like, well, there's no way anybody's going to afford this anymore. It sells out. It still sells out. The TV ratings go up. The bowl games are still ratings gold, even though nobody's at the Puerto Rico Bowl. Like I think people like consuming it because even with a big playoff, it's still a small window of time. You have about 3.5 months of the sport, and it's a little longer now. But they've even talked about, hey, this season goes too long. They're shortening it. Like that's happening this year. I think the powers that be in college football realize like we don't need to be going for 5 months doing this stuff. So every time I feel like we're crossing that line, people just still step to it. So I keep waiting for consumers to go no. And I think there's a lot of rank and file who maybe have or being much more judicious about what they select to go to. But there's a lot of people waiting in line behind it, I mean, and ready to pick it up. You feel like, oh, it's just too expensive. People do it, and I think particularly there's always, and even with a longer playoff, and look, I went to a Division II school. We've had a big playoff my whole life. It's been more than 12 teams. FCS has done this for years. I think it's just coming around to what success looks like. We're so used to in the top end of football, thinking like you got to be 11-1 or 12-0 to have a great season. Well, now 9-3 is actually going to be a great season because that's equivalent to being, I don't know, 11-6 in the NFL right now, and you get in the playoffs. Or if in some cases you go 9-8, win your division and get in the playoffs. I think we're going to have to
Or eight
adjust
and
what.
nine. That's happened. That's
Fair,
happened.
fair. It's happened multiple times. Yeah, you're right. So I think the fan expectation is going to have to adjust as to what we consider to be that line of great. And as far as the cost goes, people are still paying it. Like I don't know how in this economy, no idea, but it's still happening, man. So every time I think we've crossed that line, it people just step to it, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to yell at my cloud and go like, I don't understand why y'all are doing it, but here we are.
Well, I will tell you, this is just an abstract data point, but for the first time since 1988, my father will not have season tickets to Alabama football.
That is wild. That is wild to
He
think
gave
about.
them up because they were costing too much money, and he said he liked basketball better.
I mean, fair, even inside of that aircraft hangar. Yeah, that's fine. So, well, we are at the end of our topics of the week, so it's time for our recurring segments. You're switching it up this week and talking about a new thing here. So, what's your new recurring segment?
Well, this segment is the summer streaming series. We've
Hmm.
gotten out of the fall television episodic. Everybody's pretty much had their finales for people who actually still watch television like that. I am an old man, so I do. You know, so my wife stumbled across this series and I watched it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So it's a Guy Ritchie series. It's called The
Mhm.
Gentleman. And yes, there is a movie of the same title and of the same general idea that came out in 2019 with Matthew McConaughey. So this is a dark comedy that follows Theo James, he's the main character. He inherits his family estate only to find that his father has allowed a criminal enterprise to run things on said estate. So it's a very dark comedy. I feel like there's some like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels in there, like in some way.
Mhm.
But there are lots of twists and turns. Kea Scaldera is a great supporting cast. She's kind of a protagonist, antagonist all in one. Season 2 drops this fall.
Hmm.
So it gives you something to look forward to. It's only 8 episodes, very easy to consume in, a week or two. Really good watch. Highly recommend it.
And that is on Netflix.
Well, Jay, I wasn't going to say who it was on unless they want to pay me some money. But since you let the cat out of the bag, yes, it is on the
ain't,
Netflix.
ain't nobody paying nobody for the show, man. So let's be real. So,
I can
well,
dream.
well, my creator spotlight of this show is going to be to folks that keep the Christmas spirit alive 365 days, 52 weeks out of the year. It's a little podcast called Tis the Podcast. Three friends, Tom, Anthony, and Julia, review all kinds of Christmas related entertainment content, whether that be a specific TV episode, whether it be a television movie, whether it be a classic, whether it just be another piece of Christmas related media. They're going to talk about it, have a lot of fun, and usually bring on a good slew of guests to be a part of that too. And during October, they take a little detour and do some scarier stuff, though it still kind of lives in the family realm. Love Tis the Podcast. They're a great group of folks and a lot of fun. So highly recommend checking them out. You can go to their link linked in the show notes here. It'll take you to all of their stuff. But Tis the Podcast is our creator highlight of the week. They've been doing this for a good long while. And so if there's a piece of Christmas content, you're like, I wonder, has anyone ever reviewed a Seinfeld episode about Christmas? They probably have. Friends episodes, you name it. Then also all the movies you can think of, and even like the random sequels to those movies that you didn't know existed. Did you know there were sequels to A Christmas Story besides the one that Billingsley was involved in a few years ago on HBO? Yes, there
There was
are.
like a summer one, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a summer one, and then there was another Christmas one where Ralphie was
I
like a
never saw
teenager.
that one.
So yeah,
Okay,
it's
what's your
actually kind of
go-to
cute.
Christmas movie?
Oh man, if I have to, go to like actually about Christmas movie,
Yeah.
then that's going to be Christmas Vacation for me. Yeah. But the one thing I watch always during the holidays, and it's because I grew up where there really wasn't kind of this kind of snow, is The Shining, and that says a lot about me. So,
My go-to movie is The Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
oh yes, yes, well, very interesting
My
lesson
daughter and
in
I
reading the
basically
fine
quote
print.
the entire movie to each other and annoy everyone else in the room.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, it's summertime, so why not talk about Christmas? That's what I say. So
It's
here we
almost
are.
Christmas in July.
It is. It's almost there. So, but we're not there quite yet. But we are at the end of this episode of the Ramble Authority. Of course, folks, you can find the show, as I said at the top, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Give us a like, share the show on your socials. We appreciate the support. And until next time, where you might hear Alan say,
In this economy, sheesh.
we'll talk to you soon.
Welcome to the place where the takes are hot and the facts are optional. Where logic takes a back seat and the changes are unstoppable. It's the show that starts nowhere